Yeah, see what happens.
Do you want to wait till Thursday to do this?
No, we can do it. Let's go. Your hair looks great. Like,
Let's keep that in the video.
I'm 100% going to keep that in the video. I have no idea. You might look like trash on Thursday. Come in looking all haggard and stuff.
Hey.
Yeah. Greetings, River.
Hello.
So, welcome back to another Whiteboard Wednesday, even though it's not Wednesday. This will be the third video in our intertestamental periods that we were talking about. There's a lot of stuff that happens between Malachi and Matthew.
Yeah.
And we are going to open the pages of Matthew on Thursday of this week. And when we do, there's going to be a very different world. And so we wanted to cut some videos to bring you up to speed in some of that.
Yeah.
The first video was?
The difference between synagogue and temple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the second video was?
We talked about Hellenism. So what it looked like when Hellenism came in and Roman rule.
Yeah. So that leads us today to start talking about some of the responses to Hellenism and some of the political factions, or it's hard to say political because everything was centered around religious life, but definitely political alliances and groups. And so what do you think we should talk about first?
Well, so the groups that we're going to talk about basically stem off of two different responses to Hellenism. So let's put Hellenism at the top.
Put Hellenism in the center of everything.
Right.
Right. It's very Alexander the Great of you.
So there were some people that had more positive responses and people that had more negative responses.
So again, to bring us back to this, Hellenism comes in the intertestamental period. There's resistance among the Judeans, the Maccabean revolt, and all of that fantastic history. But essentially, it's the Jewish people asking the question of, like, one, how did we get in captivity? How did we wind up in exile so that we don't go back to that again? When we have been reading, Messiah is coming. God is going to come back to visit his people. God is going to come back and restore us. He's not done with us. We have an eternal covenant. Who's he going to come back to? What's he going to find when he comes back? And so all of this time, this is what's popped up as people have wrestled with. We have a worldview and an empire that is oppressing us and imparting their worldview on us. We have our religious identity and what we know to be true, the covenantal nature of God. And how do these two come together? And that's what Alicia was talking about. Some of them were more positive to Hellenism. Hey, it's no big deal. We can have our Judaism and we can have our Hellenism. They're not in conflict with each other. This will work out nicely. Mm-hmm. Some of them were, hey, we've got our Hellenism. We will reject that because of our Judaism. And that would be the spectrum that we're on here, right?
Yeah. And I think something that's helpful to keep in mind as we're going through these different groups is there are different pieces of each group that probably all of us will relate to in one way or another. And so this isn't necessarily to say, like, this specifically is terrible, this specifically is good. We believe that God can use all things, right?
It's very Hellenistic of us to want to say this is good and this is bad. The way that I view the world is good and right. The way that other people view the world is wrong and bad. And to go back to more of a Hebraic thinking of all of it had bits of good and all of it had bits of bad. This is the pluriform world of the New Testament as best we understand it on this afternoon. So what do you want to start with?
Start with the positives.
Positives. So in response to Hellenism, probably the most common group that you're going to know is going to be the Sadducees. Mm-hmm. Sadducees come from the priestly line of Zadok initially, Zadokim. If you remember in Ezekiel when we were reading, Ezekiel says, oh, actually, the sons of Zadok are going to be the only priests in this new place because of their righteousness. And we will read about Zadok during Zerubbabel's time. And so these sons of Zadok end up the original Zadokim, Sadducees, and then the Sadducees actually drift into more of a political ideology. And so the Sadducees are priests. Sadducees are running the temple. And so every priest operates at the temple, not exclusively. They'll be in their own towns judging and sharing in synagogue services at time and settling disputes and seeing to healing and discerning what does Torah require of us in certain scenarios.
Yeah.
And then they'll go up to the temple to work. And so you have Sadducees in every town all over the place, but primarily where they're at is the temple. They're running the temple.
Okay. So how did this particular group get into power?
So when Rome came in, they essentially bought the priesthood from Rome. And because there was a positive bent towards Hellenism, a positive bent towards Roman rule, the Romans affected that they would, it was an edict essentially, that they would be the ones because they were willing to work with Rome, they were kind to Rome. And so this school of thought was the political empire is kind to us and they see things our way. The political empire said, therefore, we're going to leave you guys in power. You handle that. And we have this really nice alliance between us. So they were friendly towards Rome.
Right. Now, what if you were friendly towards Rome, but you were not a priest? You were just a regular person.
Average Joe. Those people are what are known as Herodians, which is confusing because it clearly gets its name from Herod, who is also in the Bible and in the New Testament. And Herod is an office primarily. It is some people, but they are Jewish kings. So Herodians are basically like your average everyday Joe who has a somewhat positive reaction or response to Roman rule and Hellenism. It doesn't mean that you like it. It doesn't mean that you accept all facets, but you enjoy the gymnasium. You like the hospital.
Yeah.
You like the Roman roads. You like that and you're okay with that. So your response as an average everyday Hebrew is Rome kind of stinks, but it could be much worse than that.
Yeah.
And so they are fine in Hellenism. Herod is the Jewish king who was installed, I keep pointing up here, by Rome. What makes it so interesting is he's a descendant of the Nabateans who owned the spice trade in what is modern day Jordan, specifically Petra. They built the city of Petra and hands down the wealthiest man in the world at that time, which makes a fantastic alliance because Rome needs wealth. If you're going to spread Hellenism, if you're going to spread Roman rule, you need money to do it. They're taxing all of their vassal states. And so you have Herod the Great initially, and then he has three sons, Archelaus, Antipas, and Philip, right? That doesn't sound right. It could be. We'll just call him Philip. Sounds like a good dude. Three sons. One of them doesn't stay in power very long and is killed. Another one is incompetent and is removed, and then one stays. The one in the north stays. Herod, though, what's so interesting about it is he's basically a puppet king. He's been installed by Rome. He's friendly towards Rome. He pays tribute to Rome. In fact, Herod the Great built a bunch of Roman cities. He built Caesarea Philippi. He built Caesarea Maritime. Caesarea Caesar, right? And so he's building these cities to Rome. He also built out the temple. So we remember Ezra and Nehemiah built the temple and the wall, very unimpressive. Anybody that saw the old temple wept when they saw the new one. It just was nothing to look at. Herod sees that. He comes in with all of his wealth. He doesn't actually rebuild the temple proper, but he rebuilds the Temple Mount. So puts in the outer court and just makes it huge and lavish and beautiful. And it's this giant. The second temple is what is known sometimes as Herod's temple. That's what's been built out by Herod. And now Herod, as a Nabatean, was also an Edomite or Idumean. So the region of Idumea is to the south. That is Esau. So if you remember, Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. This is those people, right? Esau is red-skinned. They're darker skinned. They don't look like the descendants of Israel. And so by birth and by lineage alone, Herod is not qualified in any right Torah reading Hebrew's mind to be the king of the Jews.
Yeah.
He's not that. You're not even really a Jew, except that Herod the Great married one of the Seleucid princesses, which were Jews, and so then by marriage he became a Jew, and then his kids and all of that. So it's an interesting phenomenon that you have happening here in a number of these, in that what the Romans would call the king was a puppet king. Not many Jewish people would have viewed him as the king. He was very kind to Rome, very positive, had a very good relationship with Rome. Rome installed him. He was their guy, all three of them initially, actually. He was their guy. The Herodians, as a group, they're perfectly good. We like what Rome has brought here.
Yeah.
We made a lot of advancements. And then the Sadducees, which is a corrupt priesthood, they were good with Rome because their office had been bought eternally by Rome.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we're missing in this?
I don't know that we're missing anything informationally, but thought-wise, when we look at the Sadducees, they were performing a priestly duty, right? And that's a good thing for them to be in the temple to performing those duties. But we see some of their maybe negative things is that they're corrupt, right? So it's very much about money and power and things of that nature. And so the temple, which was so important in Jewish worship, becomes a place that gets corrupted. Would that be fair to say?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely corrupt.
Yeah.
The booths of Anus, right, where you're exchanging, because you can't bring currency from around the world into the Lord's temple. You have to use the Hebrew currency, shekel or sanctuary shekel, and so you've got to exchange that. There's conveniently, there's somebody running an exchange booth, a Sadducee, who determines what the rate of exchange is.
Right.
So depending on where they're friendly with what region, they say, their currency is worth nothing. Actually going to take you 100 to get one dove. And then wouldn't you know it, because it's not practical that you're going to bring a goat or 10 doves or whatever it is from whatever corner of the kingdom you're in. They're going to have all of the animals for sacrifice available for sale.
Yeah.
So they set the reality of this is the end. They set the requirement of what animal is going to be needed. They set the exchange rate for what money you brought with you is actually worth to purchase that. They raise the animal to tell you how much that actually is going to cost.
Yeah.
So they're extorting all the way across.
Right. And this is when we see Jesus turning over tables. This is what he's reacting
Those
to.
are the tables. That
Yeah.
is literally the tables that were happening, those money changers tables.
Yep.
But one of the things that I think is interesting about the Sadducees is their response was, we live in a good land, we're provided certain security by the government, and while it's not perfect, it's better than it could be. And so our primary job is just to worship the Lord. Our primary job is just to be sure that the house of worship is happening to the best of our ability, right? And so naturally, they weren't like, hey, we're really corrupt. They felt like it was their duty. They had every reason to justify what it was. To them, the single most important thing for when Yahweh was going to return is clearly he's going to return to the temple, and he's only going to come if the sacrificial system is up and running. So better something than nothing.
Well,
and we
that's
need
really
to
helpful.
eat while we're doing
Yeah.
it. And so if the Lord is going to return, where's he going to return? Where's that Shekinah glory going to fall? It's going to fall in the temple. Who runs the temple? The priests run the temple. So why would we want to bring in people that think differently than us? Of course we want people who understand it.
Yep.
The world has changed. We've got to earn a living. We've got to eat too. We've got to adapt to the times. We can't fight. And so it makes a ton of sense, this response to Hellenism.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. With the Herodians, and I know a lot of the listening and the learning that I was doing, Herodians connects really well with our culture, because it is the sense of we have a faith that we believe in, that is our foundation, but cultural influence comes in really strongly. And there are different things that they are willing to entertain for pleasure's sake or for convenience sake, or that other people would not because it was too polluted.
So yeah, and this is the frog in the pot, right? Like this is the frog in the pot. They're perfectly comfortable. They haven't felt the temperature raise degree by degree,
Right.
because there was a level of comfort within it, where some of the other responses will clearly reject it just on religious ideology. These people were probably far more practical of
Right.
like, what are you going to do, man?
Right.
We can still love the Lord and also go watch naked mud wrestling.
Right.
It's cool.
In as much as we can still love the Lord and
Go watch naked mud wrestling. You should not be watching
No,
that.
please don't.
I know some of you are, and that's
but also binge watch this
right.
series,
Yeah,
or
you name it. Yeah.
Get social media on your phone, convenience, just these different things, these developments of the secular world that come in and make it easier.
And compromise.
Yeah. Yep. But the beautiful thing about the Herodians is they were actually engaged with culture. And so it puts them in a position where they can engage culture with their God and their beliefs in a way that some of these other groups wouldn't.
Right. Yeah, in terms of the all nations piece of it, these are the ones, right? You're
Right.
on the, you have a foot in both worlds. You're
Perfectly
gonna be
positioned.
Yep, you're going to be perfectly positioned to reach the next people because you're living right on the edge of that. And so that's the dance of being in the world and not of the world.
Yeah.
As Herodians were primarily in and of the world, but they were at that line, at that
Right.
crossroads, and so it's
Yep.
it's not a bad spot.
Yeah.
And this was just one family, so you were only in or you were out or whatever.
Right. This is not part of the 5.
That's not a part of the 5. This is not actually a political group.
What's the timing?
We're going to stop, and we will come back with negative responses just for video time.